Jack here, JBF Music and Guitar Lessons. I'm back with one of these critique videos for you. It's essentially an informal analysis. A disclaimer, I say from the start, I will pause the video. I'll probably pause it quite frequently to explain what's going on. The way I like to put it is the original video is for entertainment purposes. This one is very much educational. So if you want to listen to the original song or watch someone watching the original song, this probably isn't for you. If you want some musical insights, maybe understand the musicality of the song a bit more, and perhaps get an extra layer of appreciation, then stick around. Most of these songs have been suggestions, and I kind of just go with the ones that get suggested and recommended the most. So on that note, if there's ones you would like me to look at, put them down in the comments. Another thing I could do is take these songs and analyse them a bit more in depth. So here, this is just a first impressions. This is my first time hearing it, so I can't dive as deeply into the song as I might like to. So if that's something you would like to see, let me know in the comments, and also put forward any songs you'd want me to do that to. But yeah, if you enjoy this, do the old subscribe and like thing. It's much appreciated. It lets me, as well as the notorious algorithm, know that this is the sort of thing you'd like to see a bit more of it. Let's crack into this one. This is this is what I said. I'm going to pause, right? My disclaimer's out there. This is interesting because most of the stuff I've seen from them has been like the live videos, and with the music video there's an extra kind of layer of, what would you call it, kind of artistic aesthetic, or like if there's a thing you're trying to capture. So here, this is a very, I don't know, it's kind of almost like old footage, or kind of like almost like a war vibe to it or something. This is, so far, is just not what expect the unexpected, isn't it? It's really heavy kind of industrial thing going on, just chugging guitars, some double bass drum. The kind of open strings and harmonics adding to this kind of robotic, almost kind of, and kind of, if Sabbath kind of started metal, I think industrial's kind of taken some of the elements of Sabbath and forging a whole new genre with it. Okay, some savage double bass drum work, so her feet are just going mad there, and you could hear more of the harmonics there. The technique she's doing there is quite often called a Gojira slide. The band Gojira, they do it quite a lot. I've covered it, which you can get with the app there. Basically, you rest your finger across the frets, catch harmonics with them, and you just kind of go through all of them. You get this almost kind of video game sounding. It's reminding me a bit of Pantera or something like that, like Mouth for War. Cool. It was also something that stuck out to me there is the bass tone's a bit different from usual. It's got more of that kind of modern honk on it. So a lot of modern metal bands, they've got this real kind of mids in the bass that you wouldn't normally have, maybe somewhere between 800 hertz and maybe like 1400, so you can hear it here. You can hear this kind of spank on the bass. It really makes it pop. It's also got vibes of Bjork, you know, Army of Me. Again, that kind of industrial thing. There's something incredibly cool going on with the vocals as well in terms of the effects here. There's some sort of like distortion on her vocals and some sort of EQ to make them sound quite narrow, almost as if it's been sung down like a megaphone or something. And the backing vocals here have got like a ton of reverb on them, which makes it sound like she's really far away or in a different room, and combining these two things together just sounds great, particularly over this kind of savage bass line. Musically, it's also not too dissimilar from like early Muse, you know, the kind of heavier stuff they did, like Hysteria and things like that. And a huge triumphant choruses. Brilliant. It's a really nice pick scrape. Use this as a transition there on the right hand side. You can hear the pew. It's just really high octane chorus here. Usual kind of stuff at play here, the big chords, the kind of octaves, the vocals, and I think some harmonies there. And the backing vocals as well, they sneak so much in. So you can hear the guitar kind of adding in octaves. It might be an overdub rather than an actual part. There's a real, rather than being kind of straight industrial like a Rammstein type thing where it's all really quite heavy and jagged, there's a real kind of fuzziness, which is I'm probably only picking up on because of the kind of grainy camera thing they're using, but it's making it feel a bit more kind of like noise rock or something as well. Cool, so this is something they like to do quite a lot, where they go to the second verse, instead of playing it verbatim like the first one, they add in a little something extra. So here on the rhythm, he's doing these cool kind of slides out of the notes, you know, the bow, bow. On the same beat as the snare, so 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, boom, boom. I think the fourth one's higher, and then I think she's missing out the eighth one, which is really cool as well. Put in extra ones there but went lower with them. It's these little touches, so sliding out of a higher note, again, it's just like adding a little different flavour, a little bit more tension. Okay, I've never heard them do a rhythm as heavy as that, the diddly kind of chugs there. I feel like the kick drum's going to start doubling what the guitar is doing at some point. Cool, that was an awesome transition there. So they went from that kind of rapid fire 16th notes to doing like a really slurred, maybe a dotted eighth rather than a triplet. Dint, 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 probably a triplet, so... Then a slight reprieve and we're just off into the insanity again. There's a really cool pause in here that I think might be a studio pause rather than a real life one. So if there is a live version of this, hit me up in the comments. But it sounds to me like this is one where they've probably stopped playing, but they've just tightened it up in the studio. Just you can chop the wave file that you've recorded if you're recording in like a digital audio workstation on your computer. It's a fancy way of saying that. You splice the audio, you know, move it a wee bit to the other side and fade it out so you get this really abrupt stop. See, just before they come back in, it's tiny. It's cool, as the really nice changing between the styles between the chorus and the verse. And there's a slight lead in. So rather than starting on the note, they're kind of sliding down to it, bam, down. They made the harmonics again there, that kind of artificial sounding thing. Cool texture on the guitars there. It's got this kind of, I don't want to say fuzzy, almost like a hazy sound to it. Cool, I'm just going to pop this back and break some stuff down that's going on. So that din 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 din, it sounds like she's probably pulling off to the open string. It's a great way of getting kind of faster notes in there without having to like pick everything. Now she's going for more kind of standard pentatonic thing, so it's almost like a blues solo but jumped up. Some chromatics for tension there. Cool, so what she's doing there is, you know, the Van Halen solo jump, it sounds like she's doing something similar to that. She might be doing a symmetrical scale like he does in that to add a bit of tension, and there's some effect over the top I think is a flanger or maybe a metalizer, where it sounds a bit like an aeroplane taking off, that whoosh, kind of bit more metallic. I think the effect might be over the whole track rather than just the guitar or over the drums or something, because it's really prominent. It sounds cool though. Cool, we're going to go back there. It's almost like a bass solo there, but there's vocals over the top of it. Some really lovely fills and playing there. Again, great tone. It's reminding me, this chorus specifically, of the band Rise Against. It kind of sort of pop punk but a bit heavier than that. Cool, and there, if you've watched these videos before, you've probably clocked what happened there was the half-time feel, so the drums are changing the entire feel. What I really like is they've not changed the production to make it sound too metal. They kind of stayed somewhat true to their own sound, their own settings and stuff, and it kind of adds this contemporary spin on like a kind of metal riff, because they're playing it with like a bit less gain and their own kind of slightly more mid-range heavy sound. But still with enough grit to it that still sounds heavy. Well, that's me told. Yeah, cool. So what really stood out to me there was that this song was incredibly stylized, and I probably got that more because of the video. It's the same with Blooming, where I think in the comment someone said it's basically like lightsabers everywhere because it's all these cool lasers. And the kind of, it sounds a bit stupid, but you do hear with your eyes a bit as well. Like if you see something, that's going to impact how you hear it, because you're going to have slightly different connotations and imagery off the back of it. But yeah, let's have a look at some of the stuff that went on there. Alright, so as you probably gathered, the first thing I'm going to break down here is the solo. Now, I'm not entirely sure on the notes here. It's a wee bit low in the mix and it's a wee bit muted, so I can't totally make it out. But I think one of these ways is right. I'll go through the first way like I played it there, then I'll show a second way and I'll break that down. It's pretty much the same, it's just a tiny bit different at the start. So what it sounds like to me is I'm going to give myself a half point because I thought she was doing like a Van Halen symmetrical scale thing. So it's basically taking the same shape and moving it across the string, so you kind of go in and out of key. What she's doing is a similar thing but with a more kind of chromatic shape and moving it slightly. So first version, we're going to hammer on all the way from here, 10 to 11 to 12 up to 13, slide up to the 14 on the A string, then you're going to hammer 12 to 14 on the D string, a bit slower. As a side note, you might prefer to slide with your first finger from 10 to 11 and then hammer. For some reason, I don't like that one. I prefer to slide my pinky up. I think it's because it kind of frees this finger up more, because it's not really doing anything, so I can get it in position for that hammer on the next string. So that's the bit that I'm not exactly too sure how she does, but we'll come back to the alternative version in a wee minute. The next bit, I'm pretty confident this is what she's doing. We're doing a chromatic thing, so we pick the A string on the 12th fret, hammer on 13, hammer on 14. Same idea on the D string, pick 12, hammer on 13, hammer on 14. And you do that whole thing again. So we're going to pick on 12 on the A, hammer, hammer, 12 on the D, hammer, hammer. So far we've got... Right, and then what you do is the same thing but sped up. So together you get... Okay, I'll put that in context for you. So although it is quite tricky, it's quite fast. The good news is we're just taking this little move that we did across the A and the D string across the next strings. So on the D, we're going to hit 12, hammer on again. On the G, same idea, 12, hammer on 13 to 14. And again, we're going to go. And then the faster one. Same idea when you get to here, so we're going to go 12, 13, 14 on the G. On the B string, you're going to shift up a semitone, so you're going to go 13, 14, 15, right? And again, the fast one. To wrap it up, you're going to pick that 13th fret on the B string, hammer on, then 12 on the E, 15. So if we go through the whole thing more slowly. We'll try it more slowly again. Okay, so I'm going to play now the slightly different version, and then I'll break that down. Yeah, so pretty much identical. The only thing that's different at the start here, instead of going, we're going to go. So the same kind of idea, we're using the groups of 3, 10 to 11 to 12 on the A string, then you position shift 12, 13 to 14, still on the A string, then 12, 13, 14 on the D. And a bit slower. So between those two versions, hopefully one of them's more or less right, and you can decide yourself which one you prefer the sound of. And to wrap this section up, we'll just break down the rhythm. So this is in E minor. The solo's kind of atonal. It kind of hits on some of the key notes of E minor, so you kind of know the tonality, even though it's using chromaticisms. But the riff really just anchors it and makes it sound, you know, not like an atonal mess or some sort of nightmare. Got the 3rd fret on the A, which is a C, down to the A, open A string. 2nd fret, 3rd fret on the E. And you could play the open A again, but I prefer to play the 5th fret on the E. Same note, just different way to play it. Then to the 2nd fret on the E, open E, and then 7th fret on the A, which is another E up the octave. Slow that one down a bit as well. Alright, so next on the crosshairs is that kind of cool verse thing, the two parts working together. I'll go with what I suppose it counts as the rhythm, the kind of chunky riff part first, and then we'll break down the lead. And I should mention, which I think I forgot to say earlier, I am in E standard tuning. I think the original track might be down half a step, so if it sounds horrendous when you're playing along to it, that's probably why. Make sure you're in the right tuning. So this is a really cool riff. It's kind of based in E minor, but it makes good use of the blues note. So this is a scale you don't get in rock an awful lot. People like Richie Blackmore and also Randy Rhoads. If I've got any cards left, I'll put an example or examples to what I'm talking to up in whichever corner it pops up in. But it does have a cool edge to it. You know, when you hear Randy Rhoads do that kind of... That's probably what he's using. So essentially it's the natural minor scale, but with an added blues note, the flat 5. And even that scale by itself sounds somewhat Deep Purple-ish. But anyway, back on track. What we've got here, you got the open E, 3rd fret, 2nd fret on the A, open A, up to the 3rd fret, then we're going to go 2, 1, 2. So that's where that edgy blues note comes in. So for reference, if we didn't have that note and we just played the A string, it still sounds cool, still sounds minor, but this, that note just adds that little bit of tension, that extra kind of hot sauce on the top. So you've got that. Open E, A, so the 5th fret, open E, 3rd fret, open E again, 2, 3, and open again. So that bit is... That's what it does the first time around. There's a slight variation on the second time repeat, so I'll just play through this first one more slowly. What is a wee bit tricky is you end on the open E and you start on it, so you might want to skip ahead, so just be careful not to do that. The second time it starts off the same. And then we get the open E again. But instead of going to the G, what we do is go straight to this F sharp here. So instead of going to the 3rd fret, you go to the 2nd. And you want to kind of slide up and down. I think she kind of goes roughly from the 12th fret, so you have that. And you just kind of move your hand up and you'll get a bit of string noise. Hit the strings when you're on the 12th fret, pretty much on the E, and slide down. Also add in a bit of palm muting to keep it nice and kind of nice and chuggy. Okay, a bit slower. Alright, and on to the lead part being played by the rhythm player. Generally you think of higher twiddly things as being lead and the kind of more chuggy lower stuff as being rhythm, but yeah, there is a bit of a leeway in, you know, depending on which way you think about it, because this is a very rhythmic part she's doing. Anyway, rambling aside, it's been a long day for me today. So what we're doing is playing on the offbeat here, so say your rhythm's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of playing on the 1, 2, 3, 4, we're playing on the spaces in between that. 1, add 2, add 3, add 4, add 1, add 2, add 3, add 4, add. And you also slide down and out of the notes, so you're going 1, add 2, add 3, add 4, add. So it starts off on the 15th fret on the B string. Do that 3 times and then you're up to the 15th fret on the E. You could play this as the 20th fret on the B, but this is just easier for me to get to there. Again, up to you what you prefer to do. So that's the first part. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second time, repeat, you go 1, 2, 3, 4. So you do the same 3 slides out. Then mute the strings with this hand so they're not going to make any noise. You can put a bit of palm muting as well if you want, and you do 5. Yeah, 5. 5 muted strums instead of that high note. The third time is the same as the first. 1, 2, 3, 4, add. And then the final time, what we do is we slide down chromatically. So you're going from the 15th fret, 14th fret, 13th, then 12th. I'll put the whole thing together now. We'll play a bit more slowly. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And the way these two parts work together is, as I kind of mentioned before, the lower part, despite that chromatic note, is in E minor, and to all intents and purposes this is in E minor as well. What we're doing is playing the 7th, the flat 7th is sliding out. There's a wee bit tense, but not too tense. The extra note we go to here is the flat 3rd, which is probably a bit more consonant, and then the chromatic thing at the end is just to add a nice bit of tension. And what we're doing here in terms of the notes, you've got the flat 7th, major 6th, flat 6th, and then 5th. So we're starting and ending on somewhat friendly notes. Click there for more reactions, or there for more specific bandmaid reactions. Hit subscribe if you want to keep up to date with the channel. Do the enable notifications thing. I'm sure you guys know the drill. All that good stuff. But take it easy. Have a good one.